Kratos, the man who kills and defies things like fate, death, and more. The man who, when given a goal or a reason to do something, will set out to complete it no matter how dangerous, how absurd, and no matter what happens to the world around him. But that was a younger Kratos, a more angrier version of him. The new version of Kratos is the Norse one, the God of War 4 one, and the one coming soon, Ragnarok. I'll be discussing Greek Kratos' best feats against one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, War. He's a video game character from the video game series Darksiders, and he is the youngest of the group of Nephilim named of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. He's very powerful in his own right, and this is why I'm putting him in this video against Kratos. A side note before the video starts, the reason I posted this video is because I wanted to make this video months ago, but I never could. War had insufficient material for me to use in a power scaling sense, but I just decided to just make the video now and work with everything I was able to gather before God of War Ragnarok releases. Also, I've made a TikTok video power scaling God of War 4 Kratos, and most of his relevant and best feats are in that video. So that's why I'm not really going to be talking about that version of Kratos specifically here, because I'll just be repeating the same points I said in that video. So this is mainly just Greek era Kratos, which is God of War Ascension all the way to God of War 3. I'll leave a link to that video for the YouTube version and the TikTok version so you all can watch and see what I had to say. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment on the video for more content. And without further ado, let's get started with Kratos' scaling. Also, a side note again, I obviously won't be covering every single thing for both characters because I don't want to make the video too long. So if I don't discuss something that you want to hear, I recommend you find another YouTuber who talks about those things or watch gameplays of both games. Anyways, for Kratos' scaling, I'll be going in chronological order of the game's story, starting with God of War Ascension all the way to God of War 3. To start off, Kratos was able to swing the Hecatoncres, which eclipsed Kratos in size, into a metal gate, denting it and then proceeding to shatter a human-sized metal armlet with a strike. Kratos then flips over an entire street block that is built on the Hecatoncres' arm, crashing it into a building. He was also able to pull a giant structure, although he was using the amulet of Ouroboros, although it wasn't affecting his strength, just affecting time in the area around him. He overpowered Electo's tentacle, which was strong enough to throw ships hundreds of feet of distances away. He smashed Megara through a pillar, overpowered Electo's building-sized monster form and impaled it on a ship, and with his Blades of Chaos, he stabbed and blew apart one of Electo's tentacles. And he fought against and defeated Pollux and Castor, who were the guardians of the Oracle of Delphi, and who are also in possession of the Amulet of Ouroboros. In God of War Chains of Olympus, Kratos has done some pretty impressive stuff. At the start of the game, he defeats the Persian king who was laying siege with his army to the city of Attica. He was pushing and pulling the basilisk, which weighed several tons, and crashed the wall over its head. Eventually, Kratos was able to defeat said beast with little to no difficulty. Some other notable fights he's had during this game is his two fights with Charon the Ferryman. The first time Kratos lost and he was thrown into Tartarus, but the second time he defeated Charon with the help of Zeus's gauntlet, or the Gauntlet of Zeus, and he took his ship. Kratos fought Persephone, who with the help of Atlas was going to destroy the Pillar of the World, which was said to destroy all of creation, which includes the living world, Greece, and just pretty much everything. In God of War 1, near the end of the fight with the Hydra, Kratos overpowers the beast and impales it on the ship's mast. Kratos, while in Athens, leg pressed the statue and was able to tip it over, shattering it. And he even moves gigantic stone blocks for puzzles multiple times throughout the game. After Kratos gets the powers from Pandora's box, which are stated to be one of the greatest powers in the verse, which includes fear and hope, he overpowers Ares, who was able to throw a stone pillar at Kratos with Pandora's temples miles and miles away, and impales him and kills him. Kratos survives this for the time being, but then eventually succumbs to his wounds. He not only picked up a sword that is nearly the same size as him, and he became bigger, but he also used the sword normally in combat against Ares. In God of War Ghost of Sparta, Kratos fights the Scylla, or the Scylla, his mother Callisto, who was affected by a curse Zeus put on her, Erinus, who is stated to be the embodiment of pain, King Midas, who can turn anything he touches into gold, the Parias Lion, I probably pronounced that wrong. He fights a ghost version of himself, although when he was much younger, his brother Deimos, and he fights the god of death Thanatos. If you watch the fight closely, you can see that when Thanatos fights Kratos and Deimos separately, he's stronger than them both individually. But when they tag team him, that's when they start getting the upper hand. Kratos doesn't gain the edge against Thanatos until he kills Deimos, and gets a rage amp which completely overpowers and kills Thanatos. Kratos kicks a stone statue to pieces, topples over multiple stone pillars, creates a crater on the rock after throwing Thanatos into it. Kratos can also shatter stone pillars just by throwing spears at them as well. In God of War 2, the first boss fight Kratos fights is the Colossus of Rhodes. Zeus zapped Kratos with some of his godly powers and gave it to the statue. The statue in God of War 2 novelization was stated that with every passing second, the statue was getting faster, stronger, and more capable. Capable meaning having the qualities either physical or mental to do or accomplish something. Because Kratos' power made the statue get passively stronger, it's not far off to assume that Kratos himself also can have these abilities for himself, and this is kind of supported since throughout every game, aside from the amps he gets from various different characters, he does seem to gain strength passively throughout certain games. But you can choose what you want to do with this information. Kratos stops a stomp from the Colossus and pushes it hundreds of meters away. He swings and tosses the Colossus' hand at its head with great force, and he even partially shatters a giant stone statue with the swing of his blade. He even lifts and pushes down a stone temple. Some other people he's fought during this game are Theseus, the Barbarian King, Cerberus, Euryale, Perseus, Kraken, the Sisters of Fate, and Zeus. The Sisters of Fate are actually super strong. They can be the top of the verse easily within the Greek saga, especially with their hacks. The Sisters of Fate, obviously what their name says, are able to control fate itself. This affects every single character except for Kratos himself, who is immune to fate manipulation. And the final boss Kratos fights in the game is Zeus himself. Now I'm actually planning on making a video about Zeus, so I don't want to spoil most of what I'm going to say for him in this video here. But for those that don't know about him, he's the king of all the gods of Olympus, and is actually the strongest god out of them all. And now onwards to God of War 3. This game picks up right where the second one left off, and Kratos does even more crazy stuff in this game. He fights the Hippocampi, Poseidon, Cerberus, Hades, the Chimera, Helios, Hermes, Hercules, Hephaestus, Kronos, Scorpius, and Zeus. Again, I won't be going into detail with Zeus here, but yeah. Kratos grabs and stops a Hippocampi strike, and he plays tug of war with his soul with Hades. Hades being the same guy who was able to hold down Kronos, who massively dwarfs him in size. Kratos, after fighting Hades for a while, ends up snatching his soul. Kratos leaps several meters of distance with no run-up. He overpowers Hercules, who during their fight lifted the entire arena off the ground. And he is so strong he overpowered Kronos' fingers, who, as I said before, eclipses even Kratos in size, making him look like an ant while the two were fighting. He tanked and shoved back a slap from Kronos. He stopped Hephaestus from crushing him with a giant glowing red metal chisel and pushed it back. Kratos one-shots Perseus and pushes back his entire skyscraper-sized body. During his fight with Zeus, he swung him into a pillar and destroyed it, and even cratered Zeus into a pillar and punched him repeatedly, shaking and affecting the entire room that they were fighting in. Now that I've talked about Kratos' AP, let's get into his speed feats. In God of War 3, Kratos reacts to a Hippocampi's high-speed attack and stops it instantly, and he is able to cross dozens of meters in a second just by swinging his blades. With the Boots of Hermes, which allows Hermes to deliver dreams to all mortals on Earth and guide the souls of the dead to Hades, Kratos can run up on walls and perform high-speed dashes that are so fast it ignites the ground below him, and people around him appear in slow motion. It is also stated that Hermes can actually run an infinite distance, as I said before, how he delivers all of dreams to all mortals. He's also able to dodge the light of Helios' head during his actual boss fight, and this light is stated to travel an infinite distance, which lights up the entirety of Hades. This is also confirmed as well. So this also gives Kratos infinite speed at the bare minimum, and he actually even has higher speed feats than this. Kratos fires a catapult and tags the projectile with his blades. He crossed hundreds of meters in seconds while flying with Icarus's wings. And Kratos performed high-speed moves against Zeus and was throwing him around. To greet Kratos' feats out of the way, let's get into one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, War. So during the events of Darksiders 1, War was actually nerfed due to being summoned early and not properly after all 7 seals were supposed to be broken. I just want to clarify this so that people could understand some of the feats that he performs during the game. To start off, War punches a giant bat-like creature far away, and he rips off the bat's wings with his bare hands. He uppercuts a huge stone/metal construct and uses its own flail to crush it. War can toss around cars. He blocks a giant monster strike with a metal cage, and he rips said cage off from it and beats the monster down with the cage itself. Knocks a giant spider through several floors and also punches a huge bug to the ground. War slams a carriage into a monster so hard it bounces upward a small distance. War was also flinging around a big demon and was able to throw the black hammer a good distance, even though an angel couldn't move it a single inch. War slammed a zombie into the ground so hard it burst apart on impact. In the Abomination Vault novel, which takes place thousands of years before Darksiders 1, War was able to carry a statue which the narrator stated to be inconceivable weight. Inconceivable meaning not capable of being imagined or grasped mentally. War then throws this statue with what again the narrator describes as his unnatural strength. When it comes to War's durability, he survived Straga trying to crush him with his hand, while Abaddon, who was the strongest angel, easily was defeated by Straga crushing him with his hand. War tanks crashing through several floors while making a crater on impact. He can use his left arm, which is an extremely durable gauntlet, to block most attacks. He tanks a blast from a redemption cannon, which can turn trees to ash. During his fight with Death in the Abomination Vault novel, he tanks an uppercut from Death, which sends him off his feet. This is impressive because Death was during this time, and even still during the events of Darksiders, is the strongest horseman, and War was able to maintain relativity to him in this fight. He can no-sell attacks from demons with swords, and no-sells blade strikes from constructs which can shred metal. Now we can talk about War's speed feats. War can quickly dash forward with a punch which is somewhat relative to his combat and reaction speed, which can be estimated to peak it faster than the eye can see reaction timing. He uses this speed to blitz a monster's attack and then right after cuts off both of its arms before it can react. War at the end of Darksiders 1 crosses swords with Abaddon, who turned into the Destroyer. War can also swing so fast in the air it looks as if he's a wheel in motion. And now that I've talked about both characters' feats, I want to get into their equipment. Kratos has two main weapons that he uses in battle. The first being the Leviathan Axe, which was stated to be Mjolnir's equal, and the Blades of Chaos. And as far as War, he has a few weapons at his disposal as well. War's sword, Chaos Eater, is his main weapon of choice, and it is stated that the havoc and carnage of battle makes the sword grow stronger, and the sword gains and also passes said strength to the wielder. The next piece of equipment War has is the Tremor Gauntlet. This augments War's strength in one arm, enabling him to attack harder. War has a horse named Ruin that can come to him whenever it is needed, and War can use this horse to assist him in battle. And last but not least is War's Chaos form. This form gives War a substantial boost in all of his abilities. The increase is unknown, but we know that War in his Chaos form is stronger than in his base. And with all of this out of the way, who is stronger between Kratos and War? Me personally, I feel like the answer is Kratos, and I'm going to explain why. Most of Kratos' best scaling is from God of War 4, and as I said earlier in the video, I have a video named How Strong is Kratos. I've linked both TikTok and YouTube versions in the description and pinned comment. But Kratos is much faster than War, being around infinite to immeasurable speed and possibly higher. Kratos' power increases faster than War's and with his Chaos Eater, because his power made the Colossus of Rhodes gain more power, speed, and adaptability throughout the fight. And it did it at such a great length that Kratos was forced to put his godly powers into the Blade of Olympus just to defeat the statue. Overall, this fight is sadly a mismatch, and while I didn't discuss everything regarding both characters, there is still so much more that they both have to offer. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know what your thoughts and opinions are down below in the comments. And I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.